the classes, and how you know a difference between an online class and a non-online class is very easy. After the course number is going to say -OL. -OL. If it doesn't say -OL, then it's not an online class. It means it's a regular class. Even if you're teaching it online, as we all do right now, and basically every university is not teaching in-person classes, they're still classified as not online classes because this is a temporary measure. We're hoping that there is normal that will return, that where we will not have to distance at such great distances. All right, so let's see, Dr. Hargrove started a recording. I'm going to introduce you guys today to the basic tool of our trade. Besides the fact that you are all professors and you understand what happens in the classroom, even if you're new to teaching, you've been in a classroom on the receiving side, so you kind of know what's going on anyway, okay? So I realize there may be a lot of questions, but all of us are here to help. So what I want to introduce you to today is the tool of your trade that will help you teach, that will assist you in every way. And this is really a must-have tool that everyone uses at Reformed University. So first of all, and we have a number of people, by the way, are joining us online, which I will momentarily join them online and show you how the non-online classes work. The online classes are being taught asynchronously in the system we call Populate. That's our LMS. That's our learning portal, whether it's Blackboard or Moodle or anything like that. When I say asynchronously, what that means, there's no real live time to meet in class. We program all the class content for students. They come in maybe 3 o'clock in the morning and do their homework whenever it works for them. They come home late at night, they're done with their job or whatever, they do it on their time. Once they've done their work, I see the results, I get a chance to interact with their assignments and give them feedback and things like that. So when we teach traditional online classes on Populate, that's the synchronous class, how it happens. Now, all the classes that have been taught, sort of say, in real classroom are now have moved over to a program, Google Meet, okay? And we use Google for our email. We use Google for our Google Docs, databases, file saving, all sorts of things. Those of you who are new, would you please tell me, do you have login information for Populate? Yes, everyone, brand new. Everyone has. So you've logged in. I just want to make sure that if you're new and you haven't logged into Populate, then we need to get that set up right away because that's how it is. Now, second question: those of you who are new, just starting out this semester, do you have access to your email, pshir-runiv.edu email? Right? Yes, excellent. Those are the two things that you'll be using all the time. In fact, your email is your login to Populate. We have one same password. It's the same system. They're linked together. Our LMS and our email work together. So my name is Peter Shrokoff, and my login is my email. So my first name, okay, dot, my last name, and I don't need the @runiv.edu. I leave that off, okay? And then it's my password. It's the password that I set up for myself. And you did too for yourself. And then I log in. Okay, so this is it. This is me. The way it shows up for me is a little bit different the way it shows up for you because it has to do with my job. I have a lot more stuff that pops up on the screen. Yours will look similar, but a little bit different. You will see that right here will be notifications. Let me see if I can make this a little bit larger just for fun so you guys can see this. How's that? Is that better? Yeah. Okay, good. So when you log in, you have the home right here, and you'll have a number of notifications. And I want you to notice right away, right here on top is email. If I click this link right now, it will take me straight to my email inbox. Okay, and I'm inside the Google shell, but I'm inside my runiv.edu email. This will work the same way with students, by the way. Students, if they ever need to get to the email, that's what they do. Okay, So this is a good area for you to know about. Very quickly get to your email. You can also get to your calendar the same way. Your course calendar is located there. But when you log into Populi, a most important place to go is My Courses, right here. My Courses. And under your courses will be the courses that you have been assigned. These are the current courses that I've been teaching this semester. And these are coming up ones. Okay? So I'm going to illustrate how to use the functions of Populi on a blank course that I haven't set up yet. But before I do that, I'm actually going to join my friends over there on the link, so we can have a teleconference going on. All right, so link to the faculty workshop. And here I am. All right, so when you are teaching a class on campus, the tool that you will be using for, or I mean, is you're going to be using Google Meet. Okay. Obviously, students are not going to be entering the class, and they are remote. You come into class. You have a laptop, which we actually assign a laptop. Every classroom has a laptop assigned to it. This one is 104, I think. Yes, it's 104 or 103. You could tell it very easily because right here in the corner, it will say 103. It's a 103 at pshir-runiv.edu. So this laptop is 103, and it's going to be used in classroom 103. Okay. And right here is an important feature that I want you to notice. See, this says switch account right here. This little link. Sometimes when you're logging in, students logging in with their personal computer, they may be not on the school account, okay? And if then they can't log in into our system. So it's really important. They'll say, I can't get in, or something like that. That will happen. And I try to tell them, make sure you're logged in with your school account. Then you have problem-free. Because you could see when I try to log into a class, I already have people waiting for me right there. This is how you would see your students the same way. And I simply click join, and I'm in. Google Meet is very simple, very intuitive. I will take care of that. I just muted myself, and that's it. So it's very simple, very intuitive. The way you present is very similar to what I'm doing right now. You will be able to see your list of students by simply clicking that details item right there, and you can see everyone who's online. You can see their names. You can chat by just sending a message. All right, and you could see some people will turn on their cameras, some people might not turn on their cameras. Different people's connections, may be iffy. But it is a good practice when you're teaching a class that is live, is to ask people to turn on their cameras, even if occasionally. I do have some students from time to time whose connection is really bad. I don't know if they're on some free Wi-Fi, some Starbucks or somewhere. I don't know. But sometimes they have bad connections. And running a camera, it could be complicated, okay? So what happens is we ask them to occasionally turn on their camera. I may want to interact with a student. I may ask them a direct question. And at that point, they have to turn on their camera. Just be mindful of that. When you teach a remote, it's very easy to shut off your camera and go, take a nap, right? While the professor is talking for 2 hours. It's very easy to do that. And so occasionally what you have to do is you have to teach in chunks. You teach a segment of the content that you've prepared to teach, and then you ask your students to interact. And I actually call on students by name in my class. I actually look at the list, let's see who's there. I know who hasn't talked lately, and I will call them. I will say, Mr. Kim, what do you think about what I just said? Does this make sense? And Mr. Kim doesn't answer. His camera's off. I say, Mr. Kim, are you there? Mr. Kim doesn't answer because he's making tea or walking his dog or whatever. This happens. which is why us as the teachers, we're the guardians of this whole entire enterprise, and we have to make sure the students are learning. So if I don't call on Mr. Kim might just stay asleep. But me calling on him multiple times and him not answering usually means he's not there, not paying attention. And so that tells me right away that the student is not tracking with me. So he's going to go on my naughty list, right? But other students, you know, some students will keep their cameras open, some students will not. Like I said, that depends. I don't try to force the issue, but I do like for them to turn on their cameras when they are interacting with us, okay? So that is the minimum that we can request to make this process work. Now, in this software, as we teach in the classroom, it's really not that different from an actual classroom, because you get a chance to share. You can share your presentation, you can share your screen right here. I used these three little buttons right here, and it opens up and it gives me options to record. It gives me options to share my screen, things like that. So when I'm a presenter, I can say present now, for example, right here, and I have options, entire screen and window or tab. Okay, so there's a little bit of learning, you know, how to do these things. If I wanted to share my entire screen, what will happen is you'll see a little icon pops up. It simulates my screen, and I have to select it. I have to choose it. I have to click on it, and then a little button will show up and say share. If I don't select it, you know, then nothing will happen. Basically, I have to approve what it is that I want to share. So that's basic screen sharing. You can share your PowerPoint presentations. You can share a Jamboard, for example. Google, basically Google Drive, Google Suite provides you a digital whiteboard, which is just like a regular whiteboard you have in class, only you're doing it with your mouse, essentially. And so it's called Jamboard. It's in your Google Apps. You can find that in your email suite, by the way. So when you go to your mail section, you will see these little constellation of 9 dots, and that's where you find all the Google Apps. And so one of the Google Apps over here is called Jamboard, and that's basically a digital whiteboard. It's right here. You can see that. If you haven't used that before, it's very useful if you're teaching in a completely digital environment where you're not in the same classroom with people, okay? So Jamboard is just like a whiteboard. All right, so so this is a little bit of how to teach a class in a Google Meet environment. How many of you are familiar with Google Meet or Skype or FaceTime or, I don't know, Zoom? I mean, all of these big companies, all of you familiar with that? Not much different, okay? Not much different. All of these programs work the same. There are tiny little differences here and there, okay? But the principle is the same. People log on, you can see them, you can interact with them, you can chat with them, you can talk with them, okay? You can present your screen, present your material, and in that sense, what you're doing is you're simulating what would happen in a real classroom. There's an opportunity of back and forth interaction, which I would suggest to not to allow your students to basically keep their microphones unmuted. When you enter a Google Meet class, I always ask my students to mute themselves, okay? Why? Because their baby will be crying, the dog will be barking, the cars will be going down the street, and I will hear that, and every single person in class will hear that, and I necessarily, that's very distracting to a class. So unless they are speaking, I ask them to mute themselves. And if you can't, you know, if there's a problem with a particular student, you can actually mute them by going right here on a list of students, and you can, as a teacher, you have the rights to mute them. If they forgot how to use a mute button, you can mute them, okay? Because it could be very distracting. Occasionally, students become more distracting, and they still don't want to do it. You know, if they keep unmuting themselves belligerently, you can actually kick them out of a class too, as well. So that can happen sometimes on occasion, but you have the controls as a teacher, essentially. And those of you who want to do a little bit more training, a little bit troubleshooting with me, a little bit of playing around with Google Meet. If you want to simulate these things, all you have to do is write me an email and say, hey, can we set up a time? I want to play around with them. Show me how to do this, show me how to do that. I need a little help here. So you need a little training, a little consultation, just reach out to me and I'll work with you. If you're comfortable, you know what you're doing, then great, you know. But I'm here for you guys to help you with some of these functions of how to. I do have some videos that I'll send you that show you also how we do some of these functions. Now, this is how a regular typical campus class happens now, okay? And the link that I clicked is just the link to this meeting. In your class, there will be a special link that you will click on. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to Populate. You logged in into Populate. You entered your credentials and you go to My Courses. And in your courses is where your students are waiting. That's where your class is waiting. Okay, so I'm going to focus right now on teachers who are teaching a class that is a traditional class, not the -OL class. Okay, so I will work with the online instructors specifically because in more detail because there's a lot more that they have to learn how to set things up. But I'm going to take this class right now. This is my future class, so there's nothing happening there yet. It's called The Life of the Prophets, and I'm going to click on it. When you click on the class, this is what it looks like. It's a little bit empty. Let's see. I'm going to zoom out just a tiny bit so you can see more. All right. All right, so here's the class. I'm inside the class now. And in this class, the first thing you see is you land in the area called Dashboard, right there. That's what students see as well when they come in. Dashboard is the front page. There's a bulletin board. If I want to communicate to my class, everybody on the roster in this class will see this message. If I send them, hey, a new version of syllabus just freshly updated, please download. You know, these are class announcements, not personal communication, because everybody will see it. It's public. It's a bulletin board. Okay. So if you have a private message to send to a student, do not use this. This is public communication. All right. You can do class announcements in a bulletin board. And the second tab, syllabus, is really important. This is where you would put your syllabus. This is where the students will see, for example, the time when you meet right here. So 9 a.m. to 11:30 is my class. So now they know when they should expect to show up. Okay. You can see the dates of the semester. Right here will be a link. Right now, I haven't programmed it yet for the semester yet, but right here on the right side, it would say live class, click here. And you as an instructor can do that because this would actually be your link you click on and you end up in your own classroom, virtual classroom, and students click on the same link and end up in that same virtual classroom. That same Google Meet classroom that I just showed you, that's where you end up. You end up on that join screen, essentially, and then you jump in. So for those of you who are teaching a regular class, that's the process. For the students, that's the process for you. You log in, you go to the syllabus page, join live class here, click, and you're on the join screen. Okay, you're back at that Google Meet screen. But just to show you the rest of the course, because this is your teaching, this is your lecturing side, all right? When the students are in class and you greeted them, before you begin a lecture, the right thing to do would be to take attendance, right? And that's where you would have to go to the attendance tab. There's a gradebook tag, there's attendance tab. So right here, attendance. I have, this is in the future still, but you could see, to take attendance, all you have to do is click right here. This is a spot on the calendar. This is when my class is programmed to start. It's going to be on Thursdays. It's going to be 9 a.m. and I have to click on this to bring up the attendance record for the students. And here's my options. I have quite a few students over here already enrolled. And if they're all present, all I have to do is click Save Attendance. If somebody's absent, I just have to put the little dot in the right place. So-and-so is absent. If they're tardy, you mark them as tardy. Okay, 4 tardies equals to 1 absence. Students are allowed up to 3 absences per semester. 4th absence will earn them automatic failure. This is our school policy. They have to attend class. If they did not attend enough of a percentage of the 15-week lectures, they basically fail for non-attendance. So there's a column called excused as well, and that happens on, occasions where, a student, for example, has gone to a doctor to have a serious illness, and they can document it with a doctor's note saying, hey, I broke my foot, or I was in a car accident, or whatever, God forbid, these things happen. Here's a document. You can excuse a student. They're still absent, but they're not penalized for it. They're excused, okay? So this is how simple it is. Every week, when you don't have to take class attendance as you do by calling people's names. Now you can. That just takes up a little bit more of your time, but it is a good way to learn, of course, students' names and kind of put things together in your own mind. You can call the roster if you want to and listen for a verbal response. And if they're walking their dog, obviously they're not responding, right? Their camera's off. They're making tea, whatever. They went out to lunch. I don't know what happens sometimes when their camera is off. But basically, this is it. You take attendance. You can call in students. You can simply take the attendance. If you already see who's on there, and they're already there, you only have a handful of students, you could do that, whichever way works for you. But the idea is that you have to click Save Attendance. If you don't do that, all of your dots that you put in the right places are pointless. That record will not be saved. So if I save attendance, then what will happen, I'll go back to, and I'm not going to do this right now because that's going to freak my students out. The semester hasn't started yet. They're going to get attendance record notices. If they're absent, by the way, the moment you mark them absent and click Save, the student will receive an email. So-and-so was absent from class today. And the faculty will get the email. You get a copy of the same email. You get a notice that, hey, so-and-so is marked absent. And they get a copy, hey, so-and-so, which is you, is marked absent. So this is a nice way for them to keep track. They can't say, I didn't know, or I forgot. It goes straight to their student email. It goes to your email automatically as well. Every time you mark somebody absent, this is going to happen. But when you take attendance, what will change on this screen is this will turn to blue, and it will say how many people present, how many people absent, how many people excused. It will show that data and information. That's how you know you've taken attendance and everything is good and saved and record is updated. This is the part that Dr. Hargrove and Dr. John was explaining that we have to do every week attendance, okay? And if you do that consistently, then at the end of 8 weeks, when we get to the midterms, you can say, hey, my attendance is all updated. It's all up to date. I'm good. And so that's a basic function of any class is attendance taking. Now, the other basic function of any class or any course, of course, is coursework, grades. If your students are coming to class and they're listening to lectures and they're learning, then there's certain accountability that has to happen for everything that they learn. So how will we measure their success? How do we measure their progress? With assignments, okay? And this is where we get to the section called Gradebook. Gradebook is where you would see all the grades for students. Right now it's empty because I have absolutely nothing set up in this course yet. But this section called Assignments is where you would set up the assignments. So you would have to know ahead of teaching the course how many assignments you have devised for this particular course. If you're and that differs on a course number. That means how difficult is your class. If you're teaching a 100 level class, it's this many assignments. If you're teaching a 400 level class, it's this many assignments. And they're of different nature. They're different depth, different difficulty. But you get the chance to set up your categories for assignments and assignments themselves. That is basically your syllabus. What you're doing here in the Assignments tab is you're recreating your syllabus, okay? Let's see. So what does a typical syllabus looks like? You will have assignments fall into categories. You will have tests or quizzes or exams. You will have exercises, maybe practical exercises. You will have papers, essays. You may choose to have a discussion or something. So I like to give grade to students for participation. I assign certain percentage for actually being active in class. I do have some students who choose to sit back and not participate. Too bad on them. Usually that's 10% straight off the top. I mean, I tell them that if you just participate in class, you have a chance at an A. If you sit back, that A is already gone. So things like that. But the way it works is this is just like your syllabus. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit more because I need you to see the full view here. That's the time to get here. So let's say I do have my syllabus ready, and I'm going to set up an assignment group. The assignment groups are your grading groups. So I'm going to set up this one called tests. So I'm going to have 2 tests, let's say, in my on my syllabus, and the weight of those tests, let's say they're 30% of the course. Okay, so this is a serious course. No extra credits, no dropping anything, and I click save. What just happened is you can see a new category appeared here. It says tests. Okay, I'm going to set up another assignment group, and I'm going to call this essays. And I'm going to have a couple of essays in this course, and I'm going to give it 20%. Short essays, nothing big. Okay. I'm going to do an assignment group called participation. And I am going to assign it 10% for classes that I do that are taught in live Google Meet environment. I want my students to interact. I want them to chime in. I want them to ask questions. And if they sit back, you know, and they're not engaged in class, that's just diminishes the quality of learning. So far I got 20, 10, 30. Okay, so that's 50, 60%. And let's say I'm going to do exams, another one. And so what do I have left here? 40, I guess. All right. So now I'm up to 100%. This is my course spread. So that means every assignment that I create is going to fit into one of those categories. And every assignment is going to basically be spread across this percentage gradient. Okay. So I'm going to create an assignment. How do you make an assignment? Very simple. It says right here. It says add an assignment. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create an essay. Essay 1. Okay, I'm not going to do the description right now just to save time. This is an important part right here. See the next step? It says grade only. Now, if I am grading an assignment manually, I would leave the grade only part here. If I'm planning to grade this, if this assignment will be turned in electronically, meaning it's going to be put into a Dropbox or email or whatever, and I'm planning to grade it electronically, that I would actually not do this. I would not do grade only. This is where I would choose the type of assignment this is. And if you need help with choosing this, you can always, just reach out to me and I'll help you figure this out. But an essay is very simple. So an essay is a file. That means I want them to submit a file, like a docx file or something like that. I want them to send me an actual essay. So I want them to send me a file. I'm going to put 100%, always put 100% right here, because we grade every assignment on a 100% scale. But don't worry, because that 100% is actually going to spread out across the category of essays, which is worth only 20%. So even though I'm giving them 100 for their essay number 1, it really is only 10% of the entire course, because the whole essay category is 20% together. There's 2 essays. So the group right here is very important. I have several groups, and the groups are exactly the groups that I just created. Those are the assignment groups that I just created, and those percentages that I spread out. So the group that I would choose is essays, because that is where I want this assignment to fall. And then I do want to publish this assignment. I can assign a rubric, and you can create your own rubric, or there's a number of master rubrics right there, which you can modify. We're providing you some basic sample rubrics right there for grading essays in particular. And that now I get to choose the due date. Okay, so right now I'm still not sure when I want this to be done, so I'm not going to assign a due date to it just yet. But if you do want to assign a specific due date, this is where you do it. I'm going to say that the essay is going to be due on Friday, the 29th. Okay, if I'm going to leave the time blank, and that's going to put it at midnight automatically. So that means midnight Friday is the cutoff date for the due time for this assignment. And I can make this assignment available from a particular date. Let's say I don't want my students to know that this assignment, I don't want them to see this assignment, be distracted by it until, let's say, 2 weeks, because I need them to work on something else. You know, I can restrict, and I could say, I'm going to make this assignment invisible to them. They're not going to even worry about it. It's not going to be available. So, or I could say, you know what, this is an assignment I want them to work for 4 weeks. I want to give them 4 weeks to work on it. So I'm going to open this assignment now. They can see all the details. They can work on it for 4 weeks. And then before that due date, they'll submit it to me. So I can do from, to, and again, select the dates and assign that. So I've created an assignment finally. Sorry it takes me so long, but here I am. So now I have an essay right here, and it fits into that category. So I'm going to go ahead and create a participation assignment right now. And I'll show you what's different here. In order to give students 10% for participation, I don't just, it's not that I just need to have only the category called participation. I actually have to have an assignment called participation, right? Because I have to grade something. So I'm going to create an assignment called participation, and I'm going to leave that one grade only. Why? Because I'm going to gauge how students participated, how often they spoke in class, how much they interacted with me as their teacher, okay? I'm going to still give it 100%, and I'm going to assign a category participation to it, okay? And I'm not going to make a due date or anything for that unless I want to put it in the last week of the semester, which would be appropriate because I will only gauge students' participation at the very end of the semester, basically how well they did. So I'll put that in there. And now I have an assignment called participation. And you could see how I classified them. This one is a file. That means it's going to be submission. This is going to be a grade only. That means this is a subjective grade that I put in manually myself. Okay? So the big question that people always ask me about tests. Can I do tests? Can I do tests online? Yes, you can do tests online. It's a little bit tricky with tests. You have to learn sort of say how to build it, and if you need help at the first stages of trying to build this out, you can refer to documentation in Populi. It teaches you how to do tests. You can always go right here to this little button called Help and search the database of the creators of Populi who teach you how to do all sorts of things. You can ask me. I'll send you a video or something like that on how to do tests because I get this question all the time. And I can show you right now how to do tests because it's actually not that difficult. So I'm going to create my test number 1 right now in front of you. Okay? I'm going to call it test 01. It's going to be not grade only. It's going to be a test. See the proper category that I'm choosing? If I don't choose this correct category, it's not going to work. Okay? So I'm going to choose category test because this is going to be an actual test. And fixed points, I'm going to give it 100 right here, as usual. Always 100. And I'm going to choose the right category, tests. I'm going to make this published. And I am not going to do the due date right now, but you could see there's a few more settings here. Availability, due date, time limit. Do you want your students to have time limit? How difficult is your test? Does your test have 20 questions or 120 questions? That all is going to be determined, how are you going to do a lot of essay questions or not? Depending on the difficulty of your class, you may want to do some essay questions. You might want to do some true, false, multiple choice. So I'm just going to give my students an hour. Right? That's what I said. Okay, retakes. There are some tests that I give. I really don't care that much what kind of a grade they're going to make on that test. I really want them to understand the information. So sometimes if I make a very complicated test, but I really want them to know this stuff, I'll give them a retake. That means they take the test, they don't do so well, they get a second shot at it. And the highest grade will be retained. Now, what do I get for it? What I get is greater competency from my students. Do I care the fact that they got 2 shots at this test? Not so much, because what do I as a teacher really want? I don't really care what grade they make. I just want them to be good at knowing this stuff. So sometimes retakes is a good thing, depending on, again, on what your teaching philosophy is, what you're trying to accomplish. Is understanding this content more important to you than punishing them with a bad grade? Because if it's something they're struggling with and they get a bad grade, they get so disappointed and discouraged they don't want to learn anymore. You give them a second shot at it, they get a chance to bump it up, they stay engaged in course. Why? Because they're saying, well, I didn't do so good first time, but second time I did a little better, and I'm going to keep pressing on, and so things like that. So you don't want to do this on finals, but on some smaller tests that you do throughout the course, you might want to do that. Give them another shot at it, okay? So proctoring, right now, we're not doing proctoring. So we're not going to require password, save. So, all right, so now I created not the test, but only the assignment called test. So right now, if I was to go into my gradebook, which before was empty, I will see 3 assignments pop up. The ones that I just programmed. Test 01, Essay 01, and Participation. If I want to enter grades manually, I simply go right here, Enter Grades at the corner, and I open up all my students, and now I get to give them grades. And this is how I would actually enter the grade for participation. I will do this manually. But these other tasks, I'm not going to do manually. I'm going to program them. I'm going to program an actual test for my students to take, and they will click on a link, take the test, and the score will be either automatically calculated if it is a true-false multiple choice test. If I include essay questions, then those essay questions I'll have to manually grade question by question, but the score will be automatically calculated as well, and it will automatically transfer into this gradebook. I won't have to manually enter it there. As soon as I'm finished grading all of the responses, the grade will just go straight there. Okay? So, you guys want to see how to do a test?
Yep.
So I go to a category called tests on the sidebar. And the only test that will be there is the one I just made up. All right. I click on that test, and it opens up my window. This is my test setup. This is where I get to write actual content. And what my options are is to add a question or add a heading or add some text. Some text would be like instructions. If I want to give you a scenario or something like that, or describe a particular case, then I don't want you to analyze it and study. That's what I would do. A heading is, I would say, anything. I'm just going to show to you how to work this. So I'll say start here. Okay, so, and I just created a heading automatically. So once I create the first question or first heading, those little directions disappeared, but they didn't really disappear. They're still right here. See the 3 little dots that I clicked? It says add a question, add a heading, add a text. So I'm ready for my first question, okay? Create a new question. What kind of a question do I want? I want multiple choice. I want my question to be multiple choice. Okay. How many colors are on the U.S. flag? And I will give my student options. Okay, so the first option is 3. Second option is 4, 1, 17, just for fun. Okay, so notice what just happened. I did the actual question that I want to ask. And if you already have a ready-made test, you can just copy and paste it right here into this window, obviously. You can add, you can drag and drop here a file. If you want them to see an Excel file, if you want them to see an image of some sort that they have to analyze or look at. I don't know what you're teaching. Your subject matter can be completely different from mine, okay? So you have to utilize the tools that you are. But you right here, you can attach a file that supports your question, that demonstrates things. Maybe it's a chart or a graph or some sort of things. So, and then you program the possible answers right there. Now, here's what's important. You see this first answer is always the correct answer. And it shows 100% right here. Okay? It's really important. If I don't do this right, it will not be programmed correctly, and the whole test will be messed up. But it needs to show 100%. Because that's the right answer. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you take a test and every single answer that's the first answer is the correct answer? That would be too easy, right? So what we do is we click this little tag right here, says randomize. That's going to take those answers and jumble them up. In fact, it's not going to just jumble them up the same way for everybody. It's going to jumble them up for every student. Every student that's going to take it, they're not going to see those answers in the same order. They're going to be different for every one of them. So it's not that they can sit and call each other on the phone. Hey, question 3.3. You know, question 4. I think it's number 4. They'll have to get more sophisticated. And trust me, students will cheat. They will collaborate. Unfortunately, taking tests like this is a distance. We can't do anything with that unless we force them into a room or we make them do it live in front of us. There will be some who will be tempted to cheat and collaborate and go around. There is no system or program that anyone can design that somebody else cannot hack if they want to. And students can be very creative and sometimes brilliant in coming around and finding a way and a loophole of how to beat the test, okay? But you know what? We're not worried about those, right? We're worried about the 99% that will be just fine, okay? So this is something we can do. You randomize questions, and it will jumble them all up. And I need to assign a number of points. So my test is going to have only 2 questions. So I'm going to give this one 50 points. Okay? And I can give, by the way, as many points as I want to, obviously, depending on how many questions you have. If you have a 20-question test or 30-question test, you can spread the points evenly, or you can weigh certain questions with higher point value and other questions with lower point value. It's totally up to you, okay? So I created one question. Let me do another question. And this time, it's not going to be a multiple choice. It's going to be a true or false question. You know, is flag green? Very easy college level questions, okay? So I have to program it obviously as false, and I have to give it a percentage. So, you know, if I give this one 50%, then my test will be complete. And there's my 2-question test, okay? I can show you how to do another type of a question. If you want to do an essay question, you can change it. You could do different types. You could do a short answer, basically when you want a phrase or something like that, or just a very quick one. You can do an essay where you want them to type a paragraph or 2 or 3 or however many you think is necessary to deeply answer what you're asking. You can do a mix and match also. It's a little bit more fun, you know, where you give them multiple answers, they have to match this one and this one. So you're familiar with these different types. So essay is a really common one. So, you know, I will say, you know, explain liberty as view. Oh, I just can't type today. Thank you for spell check, right? And so, and then obviously I will assign a certain amount of points to that question. Now, what happens if I assign too many points to a question? Because I already have my points spread out against those two questions, right? I did 50% on that, 50% on another one, and I just added another question. Now it shows up as 20% overassigned. I've overassigned points. So this is me as a teacher realizing, wait a minute, I need to re-weigh those questions. If you don't assign enough points to a question, it will say underassigned. And guess what? The test will not work until you have the right amount of points given for each one of the questions. So I'm going to go and edit question points because I really messed up. I got 50, 50, and 20, okay? So if I just do this, I'm back to 100. And now I saved, and I'm in good territory right now. So when the student sees this, you get the preview tab right here. And this is how a student will see the test. All right, like I said, you are free to use images. You can put videos in there. You can put charts, graphs, whatever, equations, Excel files, anything you want your students to interact with, you can make it a part of your test. And you do that at the moment when you're programming that question. Sometimes when you've already programmed questions and saved it and you say, I want to add something, it doesn't always work out. You might have to rework that question again. But that's how it works. So, and then by the way, when your students actually take the test, you can see the history, which will tell them who took it, when they took it, how long they took it, and things like that. And you can analyze right here. Analysis is more of like their grade, you know, how quickly they got through this question and things like that. This is just technical data. Unless you really like this kind of stuff, you don't have to worry about it. So availability right here on the test tab, like this is the right side, kind of like the right column right here. Availability. This is when I want my test to start. This is when I want my test to end. Again, you have the ability and freedom to change this to however you see fit and however your course works. Okay. Limit, time limit. Once again, you need to set up an appropriate time limit. An exception is when you want to excuse somebody from that time limit, and that means I want to give Mr. Kim an extra 30 minutes. Why? Because, I don't know, his internet went down or something like that. Whatever. There's an ability to do an exception. If somebody forgot a test, you can do these types of exceptions. So after people take the test, what they will see is the grade and your responses and feedbacks. So if I am grading your essay questions, a lot of times I will actually give a feedback or response. You know, okay, you got this right, but this particular point you missed, so I'm not giving you full credit for this question or something like that. So students know exactly what they missed. So they will see grades and feedback. But when the test is ended, they will actually see all the right answers, okay? So which is why you don't want to let some students take the test and then other students take the test another time. You need to give them all the tests at the same time, make sure everybody took it. Then when you close the test, they can see the right answers. Otherwise, what will happen is one of them will take the test and then share the right answers with everybody else. So there's these little tricks as teachers we have to keep in mind to make the environment of testing to be conducive and ethical and things like that, because sometimes people will take shortcuts, okay? And it's our job to teach them not to figure out how to find those loopholes and shortcuts. So we make it a little bit more difficult. Okay, so and another thing, of course, is the due date for the test. It's right there. You can add an exception. So if a particular student missed the test, something terrible happened. Normally, I don't do this, but there is an emergency sometimes. So I will go add an exception, and it's going to say who you want to make this exception to. And here's the list of my students. And I'm going to give them an exception. I'm going to change the due date for them to be a different due date because something terrible happened and they couldn't make it for that test in that window of time. But I'll be honest with you, I usually give my students a window of a whole week to do the test. That's how I do it. You don't have to do it that way. You can give them a window of an hour if you want to. I give them a whole week. And I tell them the test will be available on Monday. It will close on Friday. You have all week to do it. Then they tell me, I say, oh, I missed the tests. I said, which day? I had it running for a whole week. Oh, my computer wasn't working. My internet wasn't running. I said, which day? Could you make it to Starbucks or whatever? You know, McDonald's has free Wi-Fi. You know, which day? You know, and that's my way of teaching. I'm just trying to minimize people telling me, you know, my dog ate my homework excuses. So I'm tired of that. Anyway, that's my way of doing it. So this is how you set up the test. And once it's graded, of course, it will show up in the grade book. So this is where it will be. If I was one of the students and I took that test and I answered those questions, the grade would show up right here automatically as soon as those answers are entered. Okay. So how do you grade the tests? Very simple. Once your test has been programmed and has been administered, when you get to your dashboard, right here, you will get a message, the alert, and it will say, so many tests, questions are ungraded. Please click here to grade. And that's a cue for you to grade that essay question, this essay question, that. So if you set up questions that need to be graded by you personally, manually, the system will do that. If it's auto-graded, such as true, false, multiple choice, then obviously it will just enter that grade automatically, and you could see that in the grade book yourself. So what I just did in front of you is I created the assignments, and I have showed you how the test works. How does something like the essay works? You know, how do I collect essays? How do I get that to myself as a teacher? You know, I assigned them an essay, and the students see the assignment as an essay, but how do I get it from them? This is going to bring me to another section called lessons. Okay, right now there are no lessons. But ideally, what I want you to set up is I want you to set up 15 lesson weeks. Okay, so I'm going to say week 01. And I can name it whatever subject for that week that I decide to give it. Okay, and now I have a lesson plan folder, essentially. Within this week 1, I can put in as many assignments, tests, papers, handouts, videos, whatever I want, okay? I enter into week 1, and I get a chance to design the content. And so on the week 1, let's say this was not week 1, let's say it's week 3 or 4, and I'm ready to give a test or something like that. I'm going to add a heading, and I'm going to say, please take this test. I can't type. That's not what I want them to do. All right, so I created a heading, and now I go to assignments, and I could say test right here. Require students to complete the assignment? Yes, I want to require it. And right now I see that the assignment is required and 0% of students have taken it. Now I'm going to say another heading. Submit essay 01. And I'm going to do assignment, essay 01. Required? Yes. I want my student to submit an essay. And I can choose to basically create an instruction. Right here, I just created, what I did is, let me see, I'm going to retrace back. I used content. The content feature right here just opens up a window, and I can type anything I want in there. I can put a YouTube video in here, or I could say, you know, take, or something like that. I can give any instruction I want. And right now, if I preview, my instruction is in the wrong place. So here's how you move the blocks. You see these little arrows right here? If I want to put this instruction in front of the test, for example, I simply click on the arrow and I drag it in front of my test, right here. So tricky. There you go. It's there now. So if I want to preview, this is how students will see it. They come in. Please take this test. Take your time. You have an hour. There's only 3 questions, right? And here's my test 1. So if I'm a student and I click on test 1, where's it going to take me? It's going to take me straight to the test. I'm ready. Well, the student will actually get a little notice. It will say, are you ready to start the test? The time limit is an hour. Click when ready. And then they click when ready and they start the test. Same thing with essay, except with essay, what's going to open up is a Dropbox for them to submit it. For me, it's not going to do that right now because I'm logged in, not as a student. But if I was a student and I clicked on essay 01 right here, a Dropbox will pop up. And this is where I would put my essay. And I click submit. And that essay will now be attached to that assignment. So when I, as a teacher, go into essay 01, I will see a list of my students. And those who have submitted an essay will have a blue or green dot right next to them and telling me, hey, there's an assignment here. And I can click on that student's assignment, grade it, save it, and the grade will show up right there on that list for that assignment. So this is your individual assignment grading window that essentially registers their particular assignment. But then that transfers into your main grade book. So each assignment that you create has its own little home, essentially, where it's housed. And you can revise it. You can click on it. You can give them feedback. You can say, you know what? I hate how you wrote this essay. Redo. You have a week, you know. And then they get that message automatically straight to their email. This is what your professor says. Redo. Okay. They go back and they submit a new one, and you get to regrade it. So the system is pretty smart, pretty intuitive. As I'm walking you through it, you're seeing this. This is not much different than how you use Facebook or Twitter or anything else. Yes, sir.
Do you design all the assignments and tests before semester begins?
Yes. Ideally, what you want to do is you design your syllabus, right, on paper. You kind of make your master plan. And on syllabus, I can just put quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3. I don't even know what's going to be in those quizzes yet because it's a new course I'm teaching. I'm not sure yet. I haven't written those yet. So as I prepare, I will write out all the quizzes and all the assignments, and I will program them. But that may be different and depending on where I am. For online teachers, I require the entire course to be done ahead of time before it goes online. For teachers that are teaching on campus, you have a little bit more leverage and things like that, because sometimes when you teach on campus, you get a chance to gauge, with students, and you may have to adapt and adjust your assignments a little bit here and there. So you have to be flexible, because especially if you're a new teacher, new teachers have a tendency of giving really hard assignments to their students because they have just finished their PhD and they remembered how hard it was, and they remembered all the pain and suffering they went through. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to give the same thing to their students, not realizing their students are nowhere near where they were. They do not have years and years of learning math, and they cannot do basic stuff. So you got to work with them where they are. So, but you do make a plan, and as much of this as you can do ahead, it will keep you organized. It will make things easier. It makes it easier for students, because when students log in and they see assignments that are coming up, on the schedule, as soon as, like right now, the semester hasn't started, but as soon as the semester started, those assignments that are programmed, test, essay, they're going to start showing up with dates for them, and they know, oh, on such and such date, I got this due, I have this due, I have that due. And so as I set availability dates for those assignments, they will become available to them. In a sense, you could see how doing this online, creating an online assignment and having them submitted online and having you graded online, keeps all of the records online. all in one place. If anybody ever questions you, oh, why did you give so-and-so a C? They really had an A paper. You can say, well, let's pull it up. And you go there and you say, let's look at this A paper. And let's see what happens. So essentially having this whole system, doing your assignments online, allows you to keep things organized and all together. If you ever questioned by anyone, you're there. So far, I've shown you guys a lot, okay? And I'm going to do a little video to help you out with this so you can review some of these things. But this is, I showed you how to create assignments, okay? How to create your grading categories, how the grade book works, how to actually grade the assignments. You've seen that, okay? You've seen the attendance. These are the main features. Taking attendance every week, creating enough assignments to have a good record of student academic progress so that you can measure where they are, accurately and faithfully, and then keeping those assignments going and kind of adjusting them as needed based on how you feel the class is doing, and as you adjust your own teaching methodology. And then basically in the end of the semester, having a good record to show. How did you come to that final grade? How did they get there? You have all those assignments, you have all those things that show that. So these are the types of things. Having your grades entered, having your attendance entered is what the university basically expects for the quality of education that we're trying to offer students as they move through in these very challenging times, being remote, being far away, not even sitting in a classroom, not being able to walk up to you and say, I don't get this, show me that. I mean, you got to remember, for students, this is really hard. They're used to being able to walk up to you and ask a question. Now they can't. Now they have to email you or they have to call you or something else. So that kind of turns everything harder.
You showed them where to set up a faculty profile.
Faculty profile, yes, I'll do that. Oh, excellent idea, thank you. One more thing before I forget. When you come to the syllabus page, this is where you actually post your syllabus right here. You go to the very, very end. See the grading categories, the assignment categories I created? They're there now. So students can see right away, oh, this is going to be 40% for exams and 30% for tests. Wow, this is going to be a really test-heavy class. I'm going to get 70% of my grades is going to be all testing. If I don't do really good in tests, maybe I shouldn't take this class. Right here is where you upload your syllabus. You go upload, a drop window opens up. And then you simply drag and drop, or go and click on the window, go to your file database, and upload a syllabus. You do that. And we recommend you do that as soon as you have your syllabus completed. You post it, you log into your class, post it online. Why? So that the students can see it, okay? You can add your textbook right here. See the right sidebar? Okay, add a book, okay? So if I know an ISBN, which is very simple, I just plug it in there. If I don't know it, I have to, search by keywords, So I'm just going to do this one. Well, the wrong one. I did save. This will search a database online and gives me all the different books on the prophets. Okay. So if that's the book I wanted to assign, if I had ISBN, only one book will pop up because I gave it a specific ISBN. So this is the book I want to assign. It will pop up right here, and now it's assigned. You can see that there's required books, commentary on the Book of the 12. There it is. So your student now that comes into this course and they land on the syllabus page, what do they see? They see a required textbook, which they can click and discover what it is. They can see your syllabus, which is already uploaded, and everything that they need to get ready for the class they can see. They can order the book. You can do all the handouts right here where it says add files, or you can put the handouts into individual lesson plans if you don't want them to go search for it there. So that week 3, this handout is needed. You upload it there. It's as simple as uploading a file. Supplies are, more like for classes that require actual specific supplies, but things like that. So you can add links, and right here is where you're going to be the Google Meet link. It's going to say live class, click here. That's going to be in there. It's going to be tied specifically to the computer that you're teaching from. Okay, and your faculty profile. You could see my profile right here. You can always manage it right here in your section called My Profile. Okay, and right here is where students, by the way, message you as well. What I did is I put in my office hours over there. My email is right there. Sometimes I put my Google Meet link there from time to time. You can send me an email when you click on my profile. When you see me as a professor, you can send me an email by going to my profile page. You can send me a text, which will go straight to my cell phone. I can email my students. You see, I actually list my phone right there. So if you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me by dialing that number right there. That's my cell phone. And this is where students can come and write me a message on my personal private bulletin board to me. And so any administrators that write me messages within the system, I get them over here, and students can write me, messages on my bulletin board as well. They're like, hey, I can't find the syllabus, or what happened? You're not in class, or something like that. You're not in the right room, or something like this. So you have all your information here, essentially, in your profile. Updated with a picture, please. People love to see a picture of somebody that they're actually interacting with online. It makes it more personable. So please do that. So that's where you update your profile. And remember, it's all tied. It all works together. Your email, everything is self-contained. I know this is a lot to remember, but what I'm trying to demonstrate to you is how the system is cohesive and how it's set up to be. It has all the tools for you to be able to do your job, even in this most challenging time when we're not in classroom, we're not able to hand out student a paper and say, here, do this. We have to do this electronically. And the system allows us to track all of that and retain all the records. And nothing falls through the cracks because the moment you upload it, it's there. Unless you deleted it, it's going to stay there. Things like that. Okay. So that's, hopefully I gave you some good information on how to set up your course. What I want you to do is I want you to go to your courses. As soon as your syllabus is ready, upload your syllabus. If your syllabus is already there, take the grading categories, the weighted categories that you have in your syllabus, recreate them as the assignment categories. Then go ahead and take your assignments that you've created, so many tests, so many essays, whatever, put those as assignments and put them into the right, assign them to the right categories. Okay, so however you're going to take those assignments and receive those assignments for students, you have to think. I suggest that you set up drop boxes like I showed you, rather than asking them to email it to you. Because if they're going to email it to you, I mean, imagine you're going to get like, 25 or 30 emails scattered throughout however many days from different people that you don't know which class they're in. If you're teaching multiple classes, it can get very confusing. Setting up a Dropbox keeps it in there. If you create an assignment online, it stays right there. Is that helpful?
Could you
Yes.
show us the library and link section to get the electronic resource?
Okay, we have a library that's
still,
it's a work in progress. Our catalog is being updated right now. We're digitizing. Everything was manual. Everything is getting digitized. So this is the way you would search our library, which is still being worked on. The database is still being created. There are links over here where you can follow to different databases. We have Galileo database. We have different open access journals here. Various links for students. Okay, Sage, Perseus. I mean, and we're open if there's particular subject you teach that a repository of great articles, just awesome online open source that materials that we can link to. You could say, hey, I know this website that publishes, business articles, which is fantastic. Let's add that database to our library so our students who are studying business can now use that as a reference for writing papers. So obviously we have printed books and things like that in the library, but there are also directories of links and directories of papers and uploaded journal articles that they can read online for various disciplines. What we don't have in the library in our holdings, they are available online for various institutions that made it possible, things like that. So that's the library access. Our bookstore right now is not working, so still
Progressing.
everything is, a lot of things are in development. Okay, so we're a small school and we're growing,
Yes.
and it takes time.
And also let them know the group faculty group section to communicate.
Yes, we
And-
do. We do have
Okay.
we do have faculty groups. Let's see where there they are right here. And so within different departments, we communicate electronically within the Populi system rather than email everybody individually. If it's an announcement we have that's faculty wide and it goes to all faculty or different departments, you know, and things like that. So those of you who need to figure out which department you're in, just ask the question. We'll tell you. You know, obviously there's general studies. Okay, so anybody who is teaching things like math or chemistry or health, you know, that's going to be you in general studies. And then we have a specialized departments like the Department of Theological Studies. So anybody who's teaching a theological class will automatically fall into that category, except Dr. Kim, because his class is in general. Even if it's a biblical class, you know, sometimes we have that where they fall into general studies. But so you can always ask a question like, who's your supervisor? Where do you belong? Who do you report to? Things like that. But so different groups, different departments. And if you get confused, just ask us and we'll tell you where you belong. Okay, so do you have any questions? Anything else I can show you? You might want to say, how do I do this? Or how do I do that? You know, there's probably a bunch of holes in the presentation that I'm giving you because I'm trying to kind of rush through and give you a big, broad overview. This doesn't happen overnight. You don't learn this in one time in one day. It takes trial and error a lot of times, you know, poking around. Many people have been using Populi sometimes for a year or more, are still figuring out how to do things. That's okay. I'm here to help you guys out with how to, and you know you're welcome to use the help feature on Populi that links you to the actual creators of this system, and they show you how to do things, how to set things up step by step. You're welcome to ask me questions on how to do this and how to set this up. I mean, my goal is, you know, is to help you guys set up your class so it works for you, however you decide to teach it. Some people go all in and go heavily digital and do everything. Other people try to stand and do just the minimum. Yeah. It's really up to you. It's up to your comfort level. What we require is that you do attendance and you do assignments and you do put your grades and you're able to show what those grades are. And you have to think of how I'm going to collect those assignments, things like that. So, and what types of assignments are going to be and how they're going to measure student progress.
And also, my idea is that you can see the link section, right?
Yes.
Yes. Peter, if you have any other instructional video for the faculty, it would be good to, you know, the link or today, you know, faculty workshop as well, recording it. Anytime you can go to the link section and easily find the instructional video and, you know, to know that.
Yep. So I have a number of instructional videos on how to do it, and I always try to create some more. And so if it's helpful to you, you just tell me what you need, and I'll send you the video that will kind of walk you through some of these functions. But it's a very intuitive system as far as the LMSs go, and I worked with a whole bunch of them. You know, anything from Moodle to Blackboard, and this is one of the best.
Yes.
It's simple, it's easy, it's very intuitive, and the learning curve on this software is probably the easiest learning curve than a lot of other software, because some LMSs are so convoluted. They're so hard to work. But so yeah, we have a links section here. This is the clearance form that Dr. John was telling you about. And so change your class, a cancellation form. If you ever have to change your class, have to cancel a class, something happens. Listen, we're living, breathing human beings. Things can happen in our lives. Sometimes you have to cancel a class. If you do that, and if you know it ahead of time, this is the form you fill out. This is what you do, and so that way we know what's going on, because the worst thing they want to do is cancel a class and nobody in administration knows that you did it. Maybe some of your students do, but we don't, and so we need to know that. We need to know what's going on as well. So that's the idea. All right. So any questions? I know I've overloaded you with your information. You want to see what a class looks like, you know, like a regular class looks like, for those of you who are new, but once you have everything filled out. So I'll show you, like, this is my class on intercultural communication, just closed up. So if I go to my lesson plans, you can see I got 15 weeks worth of lesson plans here, all laid out by topics. Okay, and if I go to my lesson plans, you can see I have a reading report, I have a quiz, and here's actually an archive of my lecture that I did for them on that week. So if a student miss a class, I just post a YouTube for them, and they can watch it whenever, and that's it.
Also, we can record our lectures and just
yeah,
provide a link.
In the Google Meet, one of the features is recording. You can record your class. You can record the whole class. You can record a section of class. You can just choose to record only the lecture part of your class, which is what I do. When I get ready to start content, I break up my content in 2 big chunks normally, and I would teach, you know, maybe 30, 40 minutes, okay? And I might have discussions broken up in between that, okay? And then I will click stop recording, and the recording will save to the server. Then when I'll give my students a break, even if we're attending classes virtually, they still need a break. They still need to go to the bathroom and things like that. I will actually say, all right, it's 10 o'clock, 10 minutes. I see everybody here 10:10. Don't turn off your systems. Don't log out. Just close your camera off. Go do what you need to do. Get a sandwich. You know, they come back 10 minutes later. I click record, and I go back to lecture. And that way I have 2 videos at the end of every class that I've recorded, and I just post them from my students. In your Google, you'll have an ability to create your own channel. You can do a YouTube channel just for yourself, and you can populate it with videos from your classes, and you can pull those videos and plug them into the same way as you plug any file or any handout. You can put your video from the past week in there, and that way students will be able to do that. So you could see right here, students can see what assignments are due and things like that. Once the whole class is filled out and built out the way it's meant to be, it actually makes the students with one glance see, and they know exactly what's going on. You could see live class, click here. I have a little can't join class, click here. I have a little instruction that it tells them what they're doing wrong if they can't join a class. But here's my syllabus posted right here. They can download it. You see the download button. They can print it. They can do all sorts of things. They can zoom in if they want to. If they want to read it online, they don't want to bother printing it out. They can read it just like that. So that's kind of a shell of a working class now. And if you want to see the grade book, this is what the grade book looks like when it's all filled out. All the assignments that I have, they're all right there. And
you have to enter a 0 if they don't complete their work.
Yes. Do you have a you know, we have a policy for entering, you know, all the grades. So you create assignments, you get them to complete those assignments, and you enter that work, because otherwise your categories are skewed. If you only have 2 assignments in a category and it's 20%, and a student completed only 1 assignment, you gave grade for 1 assignment, then they're going to get 20% for that 1 assignment. Well, the ideal is that you wanted them is to get 10% for this one, 10% for that one. But if they only did 1, you get 20 for that one. And all the other uncompleted assignments will be ignored unless you enter 0, because they didn't complete it, they didn't submit it, and things like that.
And also, the faculty can download the Popular app, mobile app, and just log in the app, mobile app version. It's easy to check the attendance and all record.
Right.
Yes.
You can use Popular on a mobile. It's very easy. I don't recommend teaching using your mobile phone. You might need something a bit more robust, like a laptop or a desktop would be much better. Students can also log in and complete their assignments and check their grades and do everything on mobile phones. So it's completely mobile friendly in that sense. In fact, if you haven't connected your mobile phone to Populate, please do so, because when you log in, is sometimes on a new computer or a different device, it will request a security clearance code to make sure that it's you. And if your cell phone is connected, you'll get a text straight to your phone with that code, with that authentication code. So make sure to do that. Connect your cell phone to Populi. It won't disturb you otherwise, except when you're trying to sign in. Yes, ma'am.
Where's the, is the class schedule located, maybe on, for this coming up term or semester, located on the main page or something?
We're working on the class schedule right now. I'm going to show you where to find it. When you go to your email, basically, there's a Google Calendar is where it's going to show up, and it's going to show up for students the same way. So when you let's see, calendar, there it is. So I just went to a calendar for this particular computer, and I'm hoping that the school schedule will show up. So there's the holidays. All right, we're still populating this. This is a new system that we're using. We switched over to this new calendar. And so if I'm going to go to, so you could see all the school events will be seen in blue like this. Okay, they will say the semester begins here. This is at drop time, things like that. But a particular class you're teaching, there's not a class assigned to this. So if you're teaching a particular class, then your class calendar will show up for you and for the students right here on Google Calendar as well. Every session of your class, and that's 15 sessions, is going to show up on that day, on that time, you know, in that area. So like as far as your class schedule, it's in a Google Calendar. As far as the school calendar, the dates of holidays or when we're off, when we're doing this, when we're doing that, we're working on that right now really hard. Trying to get that all updated, and then that will also show up here on the calendar for everyone.
But there's nothing like you can see what all classes are being taught for the whole semester, or like a catalog.
A catalog, yeah.
Well, I think we're talking about the schedule, like the students see.
Oh yeah.
Sent out with everybody's name.
Yeah, we sent that out to students currently. We're working on that to be visible to students. Yeah, students can, when they log into their system, as if they're an active student, they can see all the courses when they register that are open for registration and things like that. We don't. We used to do like a paper schedule, but now we're paperless.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out how to do this best.
Well, I was asking because one of the classes I knew I talked to Dr. Young was Tuesday, but I still don't know about the logistics class. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, well, what day and time is it? Because I do work. Right. Yeah. Well, I understood, and many people, many people do. You can always contact the registrar. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay, where like we set up a time and we need to rework the slots or something, or sometimes basically the system wasn't updated with the time slot, and that could be as simple as that the time slot was changed or it didn't get updated, and you just call the office and say, when is my class? And the registrar keeps all those records, and they can tell you exactly when your class is. If the class is not assigned a particular date and time, they can say, right now we're not sure, you know, and we usually work with your schedule, you know, when it works for you. So, you know, we have limitations, but we know you have limitations too. So we kind of work with that.
Okay, you assigned 2 classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one is
logistics and
the other is online. Yeah, online classes.
Yeah, so the online class doesn't have a date or time. Okay, so, and you'll be working with me, and I'll teach you how to program things, because there's no real meeting window for an online class. It's 24/7.
Yes.
You know,
that's
why it doesn't have a date and time.
And that's for both of them? For
the -OL class.
Okay. Yeah, now the tutor is just explaining kind of the, you know, Google Meet live classes, not online.
So classes that would normally we'd be conducting in a real classroom, we're taking them and we're doing video conferencing for that. And that has a particular window into which you got to show up and you have to teach in that window. But the -OL class is programmed way ahead of time. And you show up to basically check the student progress and interact with them every week, but not at a particular time. It's more flexible. It's flexible for you. It's flexible for students as well. Okay.
Dr. Hadu, can we take a break for 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
Sure.
Sorry, guys. It's a lot to explain.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you for all of you who are online there. Hopefully, I can.
Thank you, Peter.
I helped you out a little bit there. We're going to take a break, and then we have some more introductions and stuff. And that's it. Okay. If you guys want to hang in for that, you're welcome to do that. It's up to you. But some of you are
Can I see
quite Dr. I'm seeing Dr. Owie here on the screen. I said, you know how to teach online classes. What are you doing here? You can talk to them right there. They're
Okay.
online.
Can I see the list of the
Right there.
poet?
Stop recording.